guys, and welcome back to the Black Consciousness Movement channel. I guess you guys thought, where is she? Like, what's happening? Why is she so quiet? Anyway, on our channel, I think you know that we talk about, but lately we've been talking about news and so on. And I think I have, there's something going on in the divided states, as I usually say. I don't know what's going on with Kamala Harris. Candace is so much on her. And I'm going to share that, but not now, this week. I'm going to share next week, maybe. But this week, I'm just going to tell you maybe because this channel, I think you know why it was created to begin with, to create awareness about racism, and especially also not so much racism, although that's also important, but actually to make sure that we understand that whoever obviously started the race thing of like this person is whatever, this one is whatever, black, white, blah blah blah, has done so much in really making sure that we misunderstand what racism really is.
Let me explain what racism looks like from the lens of white privilege. White privilege whitewashes racist and inflammatory language as unconscious bias. It perpetuates the bigotry of intolerant white people as ignorant. It defends and protects their private views, once spoken, as misspeak, and then camouflages racist behavior as error of judgment, which is exemplified by Danny Baker's tweet when he compared Archie to a chimpanzee.
And I think they need to come back with a new term of what, you know, like, or either they rename, and I know it's difficult, but we are, sometimes the movements start very like small, but eventually become a big movement when enough awareness is created. But this is the thing. And I'm going to share, and that's why I'm saying the teaching from next week on, well, the week after, I would say, we'll start. I have a lot of my heroes, who know the people that are actually like who encourage me. That's not encourage like physically because they are both late, but like who inspire me, I would say, to actually even, you know, open this channel to create awareness to begin with. Steve Biko is one of them. The guy who wrote I Write What I Like. And I think you know Steve Biko, right? Who doesn't know Steve Biko? Anyway, and then obviously Franz, oh my God, Frantz Fanon is one of my favorite. And it's funny because him and Steve Biko, they have almost like the exact same kind of thinking. Fanon was actually older than Steve Biko, and Steve Biko was actually inspired by Fanon, teaching and so on, Black consciousness and all that. And Fanon is the guy that wrote his Caribbean, yeah? And he's the one that wrote The Wretched of the Earth. And he also wrote Black Skin, White Mask. And I'm actually going to tell you about this book. So there's many things written about, many books written about many things, right? So I'm going to actually also share about this book. It's called The Black Book of Canadian Foreign Policy by Yves Engler. This guy, you know, I think I've been sharing, like, you know how they say Canada is less racist than the US, those kind of things. And to a certain level, I don't want to throw Canada under the bus. Having said that, I think really what they mean is not so much like, because any wickedness cannot be less wicked, like, you know, this one is less wicked. Like, I don't think that's what it really means. It maybe the quantity, I would say. For example, probably I think if that is being said based on the fact that maybe they mean like if 80% people, like if from the 10% that I usually mention that white people are racist, but you know, like the 90% is just influenced by the 10%. From that 10%, maybe I would say maybe 8% will be like, in that sense, much more US if we are just taking the two countries in like in comparison. In that sense, maybe 2% Canadian. But when it comes to like, you can't really say that somebody's less wicked than the other person, lesser evil in that sense. I think Canada, when it comes to that, they have been equally wicked in when it comes to racism. but yeah, so I'm going to share this book and different many authors about different things. This book, when you read it, you're gonna understand that Canada has actually been involved in so many. I mean, Canada was part of the countries that call Mandela a terrorist. So why am I surprised? You are not supposed to be surprised. They call Mandela a terrorist back then, and then obviously was hailing Verwoerd, Hendrik Verwoerd, who was the should I say, the CEO of apartheid, and we know what apartheid stands for, really. So what are we talking about? But I think the reason I want to share Engla is because she used not only just example, but she used like evidence. Like she has so what's going on? She has so like she goes in so much details when it comes to evidence on what Canada did here and did here, like Egypt, Lebanon, like so many countries. Like it's crazy, like you would not even believe it. So I'm gonna discuss that. And The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, it's one of the books that is actually being used in York University. Well, I don't know about other universities, obviously, but I'm doing political science in York University, and all my courses, like mention any course, like cultural racism, gender equality, and racism and colonialism, and now I'm doing psychology and politics. All those courses, none of those courses don't have one or the other using Frantz Fanon book, especially The Wretched of the Earth. So he's a very good, because he was also in psychiatry and so on. So he's this kind of person who was writing from a perspective of a striker, while at the same time trying to also teach his own people their own, like the black consciousness of, like their own black consciousness, or being aware of their own. For example, in the white, I don't know what they call that. I think it's white, black skin, white mask. He talked about, for example, how sometimes, black men would want to associate with white women. He was also married to a French woman. So I don't really know, but like sometimes it has to do with wanting to think that if you do that, you are more important. Oh my God, the noise. But also at the same time, he also mentioned that sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's to show that, this white woman, that you think I'm not good. You guys think I'm not good, but here I'm dating your sister. Like even showing them that I can actually literally, I'm sleeping with your sister, and you thought I'm not good enough, but your sister has accepted me as her husband. Like in that sense. So there's many discussions. So I just wanted to say that next week, you guys need to prepare. Whether next week or the week after, we are going to go throughout, and I'm not really teaching you politics in that sense, but I'm teaching you about things that I think matters to us as black people, equally living in a society mixed with other people, other races, and so on. That noise is too much. I don't know what's going on. As I was saying, we are discussing some information in these books, and obviously it's like a book like this, it will take like how long to explain, but I'm gonna have to like just shorten it so that you have the basic. If you want to read the book, I will give you the information and so on. But there's also another article, I don't know whether it's in the book now, like whether it's now made like in a form of a book, but I think the last time I checked it was in a kind of an article form. But it's very good. It kind of like will give you that idea of what I always talk about when it comes to racism. For example, when somebody say, oh no, I'm not racist, I have a black friend, what exactly do they mean by that? So if you have a black friend, you are not racist. What is racism in that sense? Because when you look at that, like, so the article is, I think it's written by a Nigerian lady. At that moment, I think she was a journalist, and I'm going to share all the information. Sorry about that, guys. The noise was just too much. Anyway, so it was written by a Nigerian, like, I think she was a journalist, probably still is. But I think the name of the article will let you know that, okay, so the name of the article is Why I Stopped Talking to White People About Race. It's quite interesting because what you mentioned there is things that we need to start thinking about when we discuss racism. Because like I always say that it's only 10% of the, when we come into discussion of racism, you know, like as it comes from white people. In that sense, I always say only 10% of white people in general are racist, but those 10% actually control the 90% who are amazing people who want to live in peace with everybody and so on. But this is the thing. If 7% of that 10% is in control or in power, then they're actually gonna have a very big influence. And I think that's what she's talking about as well. And that's what I usually say, that black people are actually not concerned about the racism that you experience on the streets when somebody say nigger, like using the N-word and so on. It's not that it doesn't bother us, but that's not the main thing. We are bothered about the person who is in control of a company, who is in control of being able to actually hire someone, and that person will not say the N-word in streets because they are very well respected, they kind of are careful and so on. So, and this is why it caused all this thing of like, oh no, but you know, so when you talk about it, they're like, oh no, that person is not racist, but they just don't say that. But these are the people that can actually make sure that you don't get the right job because you are black or you're a non-white, because now racism has stretched itself towards even Asian and all those people and so on. So that is what we are going to discuss to understand racism more in terms of what, and I'm going to use also, there's a woman called Shola. She has points that I agree on. It doesn't mean that I agree with her completely 100% with some things, just like I don't agree with Candace 100% as well. There's some things that I disagree with.
At the heart of this, Dr. Shola, do you believe that racism is to play? I mean, this is a question that you feel actually you're exhausted of having to defend it, because for you, it's so blatant that yes, the answer is yes, racism is to play.
You've taken the words right out of my mouth. It is exhausting when you keep hearing people either deny that racism is at the heart of this. People go, it's criticism, but it's criticism steeped in racism. And look, I think that the difficulty here for a lot of people is that they do not understand this thing. And the thing is that it is not the job of black people and ethnic minorities to educate white people on racism that is perpetuated by white people.
Right.
White folks need to go educate themselves on the racism they perpetuate. The reason why the racism experienced by Megan feels so personal and it deeply resonates with a lot of people is because it's symptomatic of the culture of racism in the United Kingdom.
What examples do you have?
You see, that is another problem. When people keep asking what examples, it makes me question. It makes me question, where have you been the last 2 years? What have you been reading? What have you been listening to?
I've been reading some criticism.
Right.
I haven't personally read anything that I could say was based on racism.
And this is part of the problem. And let me explain what racism looks like from the lens of white privilege. White privilege whitewashes racist and inflammatory language as unconscious bias. It perpetuates the bigotry of intolerant white people as ignorant. It defends and protects their private views, once spoken, as misspeak, and then camouflages racist behavior as error of judgment, which is exemplified by Danny Baker's tweet when he compared Archie to a chimpanzee. Now, look, I think if you look at a lot of the criticisms she's faced, even a lot of the examples, it sums up to one thing. How dare she? She doesn't know her place. She's uppity, right? When a black woman, right, goes along with the flow, does what is expected of her, it's all okay. But the moment she exercises independent thought, independent authenticity, her own independent views, she's a problem.
So there is, I mean, we've sort of been looking through, and I know online there's lots of examples of how she's been treated differently compared to Kate. There's a few examples here. We'll just show a couple of them now. So you've got this, for example, the bouquet of flowers. So you've got Kate's bouquet there, Kate Middleton, homegrown bouquet of the Lily of the Valley follows the royal code. Meghan's wedding, how Meghan Markle's flowers may have put Princess Charlotte's life at risk. I mean, two identical bunches of flowers, two very different.
You know what? The noise is too much, guys. Let's talk about this thing next week before we get overwhelmed by the noise. Anyway, take care, and please don't forget to push that notification button so that we can notify you when we have a new video. Bye, guys, from Jehovah. Take care. Bye.